So I've been selling real estate here on Smith Lake for quite some time. Well, if you've watched my channel long enough, you know I'm gonna be real with you. We're gonna talk about the good stuff. I'm going to occasionally talk about the bad stuff, but I'm also gonna talk about the stuff that nobody wants to talk about. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly here at Smith Lake. I'm Jacob Sanders, your local Smith Lake realtor. If you thought about buying or selling on Smith Lake, don't do anything without calling me first. I want to be your go-to for everything Smith Lake real estate. But this first one isn't going to surprise anybody, and that is the water. I don't care how many pictures you've seen online, until you're actually standing here looking at it, you just don't realize how clear this water really is. People move here from all over the country, and one of the first things they say is, man, I had no idea this looked like this. And then if you got kids, well, good luck getting them out of it. As a matter of fact, good luck getting grown adults out of it too. And look, this is no joke. I've seen 50-year-old men cannonball off a dock like they just got out of school for the summer. The second thing is I love how peaceful it is. Now, don't get me wrong. If you come out here on the 4th of July, it's not exactly going to feel like you're the only person out here on the lake. It's going to feel quite the opposite. But come out here on a Tuesday morning, look, you can sit here on your dock with a cup of coffee, and all you're going to hear are birds, a few boats every now and then, and maybe your neighbor trying to convince himself, man, he needs a third boat. And another thing, life just slows down here. People wave at each other, whether you know them or not. They'll stop and talk for 20 minutes at the marina. Nobody's really in a hurry. And that is unless somebody's grilling burgers and they forgot the buns. Well, then everybody's in a hurry. So now that it sounds like I made a tourism commercial for Smith Lake, now let's talk about some of the things that don't always make the brochures or even Facebook. So the first one, you're probably going to spend more time in your truck than you plan. You need groceries, hey, you're going to be driving. You need a gallon of milk, well, you got a few minutes to go at least. You need propane because your tank just ran out of gas halfway through cooking steaks. Yep, you're going to be driving. At some point, you're going to start doing the math like, is this a one-trip problem or is this a two-trip problem? And that's when you know you're a real lake resident at that point. Now, living on the lake is amazing. It's just not always convenient. But what lake is? Well, let's talk about the maintenance. Now, I know some people think owning a lake house is really sitting in a rocking chair every afternoon watching the sunset, and yes, sometimes it is. But other times you're pressure washing the dock, you're blowing leaves, cleaning pollen off everything outside, and wondering why the spiders think your boat dock is the nicest neighborhood on Smith Lake. I don't know who elected spiders to run these docks, by the way, but they're doing a good job. Another thing people don't think about is the weather. One minute it's gorgeous. The next minute you're trying to outrun a thunderstorm in a pontoon boat. It suddenly feels like it tops out at about 4 miles an hour. And those of you who've been out on the lake, you know what I mean. Let me tell you something, you'll never feel more betrayed by a boat than in that exact moment. But honestly, none of that would keep me from living here. So now let's talk about the ugly. And by ugly, I don't mean ugly. I don't mean like the ugly neighbor next door that you don't like. I mean the stuff that's funny because really it's actually true. First, everybody suddenly becomes your best friend. You know, you buy a lake house, you got people you hadn't heard from since the 8th grade, somehow has your phone number. They call and say, hey bud, how you been? Which is a translation for, can I bring 14 people over Saturday? You know, there's an old saying that goes, the one thing better than a lake house is having a friend with a lake house. Well, I promise you, you're about to be getting a lot more friends. You know, you may not get a happy birthday text from a lot of people, but you buy a house and a boat dock, and then all of a sudden you're everybody's favorite cousin. Now, number two, you're going to start spending money you never planned on spending. You're going to buy a lake house, then you got to buy a boat. You're going to buy a boat lift. You're going to need paddle boards, then a kayak. Some of y'all going to want a golf cart, then the outdoor furniture. Then you decide if your dock needs a fridge. That is convenient, by the way. Now, somewhere along the way, you quit asking if you need something. You started asking, where are you going to put it? And look, y'all, the lake is the only place where I know that a grown man will justify a second golf cart with a completely straight face. Look, here's probably the ugliest one in my opinion. That's leaving on a Sunday. If you've ever owned a lake house, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Around 4 or 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, nobody wants to leave. Then everybody starts cleaning really, really slow. And the kids, it happens every time, they disappear. Dad's checking the boat one more time. Mom's watering the flowers that don't actually need watering. Everybody's just trying to delay Monday. So, is Smith Lake perfect? Absolutely not. There's maintenance, there's driving, there's expenses, and yes, there's enough spiders on some docks to really make you question a few life choices. But after helping people buy and sell homes here for years, I can honestly tell you this. I've never had somebody call me 6 months later and say, hey Jake, buying on Smith Lake was the biggest mistake we ever made. Now, I've had a few people call because they bought a bigger boat and their budget probably appreciated. A lot of times that's usually the same week after they added a second golf cart. But I've never had anybody regret buying here on Smith Lake. And honestly, that really says a lot.
So if you're thinking about buying or selling here on Smith Lake and you've got questions, well, I'd love to help. And look, if there's a topic that we haven't covered yet that you'd like more questions about or you'd like to see on a future video, just drop the comments below and I'll answer every one of them. I'm Jacob Sanders with eXp Realty here on Smith Lake, and I'd love to help. Give me a call anytime.